let's begin. My name is Emily Brewster. I'm an associate editor at Merriam-Webster. I am a general definer, which means that I spend the majority of my time writing dictionaries. And I'm going to talk to you today about dictionaries and about a particular kind of dictionary. Mastering a language is really a process of making that language a habit. Our native language is a language that we all know because we are raised surrounded by it, because it is the way that we interact with everyone, and it's the way that we hear everyone around us interacting. But when we are learning a foreign language, we have to go about mastering that language in a completely different way with much more intentionality. We are going to talk about how context, idioms, and usage are important factors in, I need to move that there. Okay, sorry about that. To really make a habit of language, it's very important to approach a language with a full understanding of the context that the words are used in, of the idioms that are used, and of the actual kind of finer points of usage that exist. There is a particular kind of dictionary called a learner's dictionary that is uniquely designed to teach just these things. There we go. This here is decidedly not a learner's dictionary. This dictionary weighs about 8 kilos. It is the largest mass-produced dictionary that ever existed. It was produced for the first time in 1934, and it is a dictionary that is daunting to even native speakers. It has a very small font and tiny print, and it packs in an incredible amount of information, accurate information and very concise information. But it does not do what a learner's dictionary does. A learner's dictionary is designed to, again, focus on context, idioms, and usage, and it gives a much fuller accounting of the language and the subtle points of the language. A learner's dictionary is a monolingual dictionary. It is not the dictionary that a first non-native speaker uses, that a non-native speaker uses at first. You start out, of course, with a bilingual dictionary. So you are looking for a one-to-one translation. What is this word in my first language? What is this word in the language I am learning? But a learner's dictionary is a monolingual dictionary. It has simplified definitions. It includes a lot of restatements. So the same thing will be said in multiple ways that you can see, get a fuller understanding of what the word means. It also has very specific grammatical information that is useful to a non-native speaker, but that a native speaker just knows by the fact of that language being a habit. It also has clear labels and a strong, easy to navigate page design, has multiple example sentences, and it has pays special attention to idioms and collocations. What kinds of words are used together? What kinds of meanings do those words have when they're put together as opposed to when they're used separately? It also gives special attention to usage issues and has notes about grammar. And it includes cultural notes that give insight into how these words function, because language, of course, does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in a society. Here's an example from Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. The Collegiate Dictionary is a dictionary that is aimed at native speakers, and it is the kind of dictionary that a college student is happy to go away to school with. This dictionary, if we look at this entry, is the word vitriol. We see first that the word has these little dots that tell us how the word is divided if you wanted to break the word on a page, where you would put a hyphen. Next, we have a pronunciation. This is not in the International Phonetic Alphabet. As you will all immediately recognize, the word is pronounced vitriol, but of course the letter I in the International Phonetic Alphabet is E, but that is not something that is understood to English speakers. So this has a special phonetic code that is appropriate for English speakers. Then it has the N tells you that this is a noun, and then it goes into this kind of long explanation of where this word came from, and it includes a lot of abbreviations. I'm not going to get into the full background of this word, but I will say that it comes from an old form of English, and before that French, and before that Latin. And Then the date, 14th century, tells us that this word was first used in English in the 14th century. Then we have some really technical definitions. We are told that vitriol is a sulfate of any various metals, and we are told that it is also used as a synonym for the phrase oil of vitriol, and this dictionary would then require that somebody go and look up what oil of vitriol is. Then we are told that vitriol is something felt to resemble vitriol, that literal vitriol, especially in its caustic quality. And it means especially virulence of feeling or of speech. This is all very technical. It is very accurate, but it is not the easiest definition for a non-native speaker to use, and it doesn't really cut to the chase in the way that a learner's dictionary does. Here we have the, excuse me again, I've got a little dialogue bubble here that's getting in the way a little bit. Do you know how to? Okay, there we go. Here we have the International Phonetic Alphabet pronunciation. We are told that it is noun. We are told that this is a non-count noun, which is, again, something that a native speaker has no interest in, because when the language is your habit, you just understand these things by virtue of it being a habit. We're told that the word is formal and that it means harsh and angry words. A simple, concise definition that gets right to the point. And we have an example. His speech was full of political vitriol. The adjective vitriolic is again attached here, and this time it's illustrated. She launched a vitriolic attack against us, a vitriolic debate. I will eventually learn how to make these pages turn more quickly. Sorry about that. We go. Here's another example of a definition from the Collegiate Dictionary. This is the word decrease. Again, we start with the pronunciation, the part of speech, the way that the word is conjugated, and then we have this kind of long etymology that tells us the background of the word, the history of the word. We'll take a look at the definition. The word decrease is defined as to grow progressively less in size, amount, number, or intensity. Now, this definition is actually very closely tied to the etymology of the word, which makes sense to a native speaker. But when we approach it as someone who is not necessarily familiar with the etymology or familiar with the word, what we see is this kind of contradiction. To grow progressively less, it's a little bit counterintuitive. Then we have the Learner's Dictionary, which divides this as both the intransitive verb, which means that it has no object, means to become smaller in size, amount, number, etc. And the transitive use, which takes an object, to make something smaller in size, amount, number, etc. And each definition includes a number of example sentences. For the intransitive, for the sense that does not take an object, we have sales decreased by 5% this year. The population is decreasing steadily, and that is restated immediately. The population is steadily decreasing in size. Those are two ways of saying the same thing. In the next example, we have at the transitive use, we also have synonyms included. By exercising often, you can decrease, that is to say, you can reduce or lower your chance of developing heart disease. The driver decreased her speed as she approached the curve. These changes will decrease our expenses. And an opposite is given. The opposite of this word is increase. This is to contrast with our unabridged dictionary. This is a newer edition than that 8-kilo one that I showed you. But this is what that page looks like. And this is what the page of the Learner's Dictionary looks like. The blue here, the blue text, is all example sentences. It's still a lot pressed onto a page because the dictionary has to include a great deal of information, but the layout is simpler, and as you can see, each definition starts on its own line, and the idioms start on their own lines as well. Another part of the context in the Learner's Dictionary are its illustrations. Here we have an illustration of a house that clearly points out what the different elements of the house are. And then we have another example of some definitions. Sometimes a definition is, they refer to one another. So we're looking at the word supervise now. To be in charge of someone or something, to watch and direct someone or something, as in, the builder supervised the construction of the house. She supervises a staff of 30 workers. A supervised study period. This shows you how the word is used in its attributive sense, supervised. It's almost like an adjective, but it's actually the verb form. Then we have the noun supervision, and this time the noun refers back to the verb. The action or process of watching and directing what someone does or how something is done. And then the link back to the verb is made, the action or process of supervising someone or something. Young children need constant supervision. Parental supervision is recommended. She's responsible for the supervision of a large staff. And again, we have an example where there is a kind of restatement. The medication should be taken under a doctor's supervision. Another way of stating that same sentence is the medication should be taken under the supervision of a doctor. So a good dictionary goes beyond definitions. A dictionary that is useful in translating will provide information that's restated more than once. It's stated and then stated again. It'll give special attention to idioms and collocations. It will provide insight on usage and grammar notes, and it will provide cultural notes. What is an idiom? An idiom is any phrase in which the parts don't equal the whole. You can't understand the meaning of an idiom by looking up each word in the idiom in a dictionary and then putting them together, because that's just not what an idiom is. An idiom is something that forms a different picture. We're going to look at a series of idioms that all have to do with horses, except not literally. We have a horse of a different color. This is a phrase, an idiom that is used mostly in American English, and it is informal, as a lot of idioms are. It means a very different thing or issue. That's what we'll do when he gets here, but if he doesn't show up, well, that's a horse of a different color. We have beat a dead horse. Fortunately, there are no horses injured in the use of this idiom. It is also expressed as flog a dead horse. This means to keep talking about a subject that has already been discussed or decided. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I still don't understand what happened. It also means to waste time and effort trying to do something that is impossible. Is it just beating a dead horse to ask for another recount of the votes? Change horses in midstream, to choose a different leader or policy during a time when serious problems are being dealt with. A politician whose slogan for re-election is, "Don't change horses in midstream." We also have the phrase, eat a horse. Informal phrase that, again, doesn't actually have anything to do with harming horses in any way. Someone who is very hungry can be described as hungry enough to eat a horse. I didn't eat today, and now I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. From the horse's mouth. This is informal. The dictionary tells you that this is used to describe information. Information that is from the horse's mouth is from the original source or person and is therefore thought to be true. I know it's hard to believe, but I heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Hold your horses. That is a phrase that is used to tell someone to slow down, stop, or wait for a short time. Hurry up. We need to get going. Hold your horses. I'll be ready in a minute. Another example of horse, look a gift horse in the mouth. To look in a critical way at something that has been given to you. I noticed the guitar wasn't made of real wood, but I didn't say anything because you shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. Now, a native speaker might know that this comes from the idea that when you are buying a horse, it's okay to examine a horse's mouth. It's a very good way to get information about the health of the horse. But if somebody is giving you a horse, it's really rude to examine the gift in such a way. But that fact, that information behind the idiom has been lost really for many people, but the idiom exists. Putting the cart before the horse. In this case, the meaning of the idiom is more transparent. If you put a cart before a horse, you're doing things in the wrong order. To do something first instead of waiting until something else has been done. People are putting the cart before the horse by making plans on how to spend the money before we are even certain that the money will be available. The wrong horse. If you choose, pick, back the wrong horse, you choose or support someone or something that is not successful. The company has been losing money, and many investors are beginning to feel that they may have picked the wrong horse. In a learner's dictionary, you will also see other phrases covered: Charlie horse, dark horse, high horse, hobby horse, one horse, rocking horse, seahorse, stalking horse, Trojan horse. Some of these are covered also in a monolingual dictionary for native speakers, but a learner's dictionary is going to approach them in a different way and going to give a much clearer picture of them. We'll look at a few more idioms before we move on. The idiom cat and mouse. Cat and mouse, this is an idiom that is defined as a non-count noun. Behavior that is like the way a cat chases a mouse or plays with a mouse before killing it. Used especially to describe a situation in which someone says or does different things to deceive other people to avoid being caught, etc. And is usually used with the verb play. The governor has been playing a game of cat and mouse with the media, refusing to say definitely whether he will run for re-election. The thieves played cat and mouse with the police for several days before they were caught. And this is also used as an adjective, as in a cat and mouse routine. Dog eat dog is an idiom that is used as an adjective. It's used to describe a situation in which people compete with each other for success in a cruel and selfish way. A dog eat dog business, dog eat dog competitions. So, a learner's dictionary can provide information about idioms. It also provides more information than just about idioms. It's not just about learning these phrases, about putting together these parts that don't equal a whole. It also addresses easily confused words, and it addresses common usage problems, and it addresses linguistic sensitivity, and it addresses cultural information. The Learner's Dictionary talks about easily confused words. Words like principal. Do not confuse one principal with the other principal. One is a person who works in a school, and one is something that you believe. Discrete. There are two different kinds of discrete. There are two different meanings of the word capital. These are important things to keep straight. There are semantic differences between words. We have childish and childlike. These words, the suffix ish and the suffix like are basically synonyms, but they can be attached to the same word and have very, very different results. Someone who is acting childish has the negative qualities of a child. They are being demanding, they are being unreasonable. Someone who is being childlike is behaving in a way that shows a kind of innocence and a kind of openness. This is information that is very pointedly addressed in a learner's dictionary. Usage is the way in which words and phrases are actually used in a language community. So it goes beyond just what the meaning of a word is. It is how these words actually function. It is the customary use of language. The rules of grammar are understood by a native speaker by virtue of being a native speaker. I like to think of grammar as kind of the bones of something. If we're thinking about a language, if we're thinking about a building, for example, we can think of the grammar as being the beams and the structure. And vocabulary is what brings all those things together. It is the walls that go between those that form a cohesive whole. But the grammar is something that native speakers do not need to really think about in most cases. It is word order. It is the way that verbs are conjugated. Most of these things native speakers simply absorb by virtue of being a native speaker. It is language as habit. All grammar is usage, but not all usage is grammar. So what I mean by this is that grammar encompasses not just the conjugations and the word order, but it also encompasses these kinds of niceties of language and what word is the more appropriate choice in a given circumstance. Grammar usually refers to structure and to agreement, and usage is often about word choice. Which do I want to use in this context, childish or childlike? Many usage issues are problematic for native speakers and non-native speakers alike. This first example is one that is famously problematic for native speakers of English. Lay versus lie. just lay the book on the table, just lie the book on the table. The correct choice is lay. But these words are very, very frequently confused, in part because the past tense of lie is lay. So they get really, really tangled up. I feel tired and want to lay down. I feel tired and want to lie down. Someone who is focused on getting their usage right will choose lie down. I want to lie down. But in casual speech, we often hear native speakers, using lay down. This is not about grammar so much as it is about usage. Comprised and composed. Comprise and compose is another pair of words. Clouds are composed of water vapor. 9 players comprise a baseball team. This again is another issue that is a difficult one for native speakers and non-native speakers. But if you are doing translation or if you are teaching, this is a matter that is important to communicate correctly. Next example, his words implied or inferred a threat. From your letter, I imply or infer that you are sad. His words implied a threat. From your letter, I infer that you're sad. The next one is about hang. We hanged a wreath on the door. We hung a wreath on the door. The prisoner was hanged at dawn. A learner's dictionary is going to focus on communicating the subtleties between these words. Usage then is both grammar and word choice. As in, I hope you can come to lunch with Noah and me. Or we often do hear I, but as the object of the preposition, the answer that is expected in carefully spoken English is me. Again, we have this alert because there are, when we're talking about these usage issues, we are often talking about which language is more prestigious. There are many dialects of every language, of course, and English is no different, but there is a standard English. This English is not a superior English. That is, our position is not a superior English, but it is an English that carries with it more prestige. So it is an advantageous language to master. Non-standard means not conforming in pronunciation, grammatical construction, idiom, or word choice to the usage generally characteristic of educated native speakers of a language. There is an advantage to knowing the standard English, but again, it is not actually a superior language. It is just the one that has the advantages attached to it. Usage is the manners of language, and manners are social. We've got culture, education, region, generation, prejudice, prestige, taste. All of these are addressed in a learner's dictionary. And learner's dictionary is something that is useful. Addressing these is important because our language use and our usage choices really has an implication on how we function with one another. It was interesting to note that when people are on a dating service like Match.com, for both men and women, grammar is right up there as being one of the things that is most important to people when they are looking at a prospective partner. And again, here they're really talking about both usage and grammar. Affect and effect, these are famously difficult in English, really hard to keep straight. Affect with an A is typically used as a verb. This will affect, the weather will affect our plans. And the noun form is effect with an E. The weather will have an effect on our plans. So in a learner's dictionary, you'll get clear instructions on which of these to use. We have this paragraph. Do not confuse the verbs affect and affect. Affect, because affect with an E is also a noun. Affect means, the affect is also a verb. Affect means to act on or change someone or something. Rain affected or influence, which also means influenced their performance. Affect means to cause something to happen. The new president effected, that is, made or caused many changes to or in the company's policies. Note that the verb effect and the noun effect are used in contexts that are similar. The weather affected our plans. The weather had an effect on our plans. The weather caused us to change our plans. We also have usage issues that are not as difficult for native speakers, but that can be quite confusing to non-native speakers. The verbs clean and cleanse both mean to make something or someone clean. Cleanse usually refers to making the body or part of the body clean, cleansing the skin. The herb is believed to cleanse the body of toxins. It can also refer to making a person's mind, soul, reputation, that kind of thing, clean. The ceremony is meant to cleanse people of their guilt and sin. Try to cleanse your mind through meditation. Clean is more common than cleanse, and its use is less specific. A learner's dictionary will also dive into fine differences between synonyms, clothing and clothes. These both refer to things that people wear to cover their bodies. Clothing tends to be used when discussing a particular type of clothes or talking about clothes in general. A shop that sells vintage clothing, food, clothing, and shelter are things that every person needs. Clothes is usually used when we are talking about the things that someone is wearing. I need to put on some clean clothes. He's wearing fancy clothes today. Clothing is somewhat more formal than clothes and is not used in speech as often as clothes. There is no singular form of clothes, but you can talk about an article, piece, item of clothing if you want to refer to one thing that you wear. Again, this kind of information is the kind of thing that if the language is your habit, you know this without thinking about it. The usages of issue, of course, are also very much about register, about how formal we are being, about what kind of setting we're in. Are you talking to someone in the context of a job interview? Are you translating something that is going to be used? Are you translating something for a work of fiction where there's a conversation happening? Or are you translating a manual to guide people on how to use a particular product? These will be very different contexts, and so you need to know about register. Here we have a paragraph on the word like. It's a very, very common word in English. Like has many uses in informal speech, especially in the speech of young people. It's something they are criticized for heavily. It is commonly used to emphasize a word or phrase. So we have, he was like gorgeous. In British English, that is typically phrased as he was gorgeous like. It is used in a way that shows that you are not sure or confident about what you are saying. I need to borrow money. Her father is like a scientist or something. I think it costs like $20. Now, including this kind of like in a translation is a really important signal that this is idiomatic English, that this is kind of more natural English, because it's a very, very common word that is used, but again, not in formal contexts. In very informal speech in U.S. English, like is used with the verb be to say what someone thinks, says, etc. She was telling me what to do, and I was like, mind your own business. I was thinking, mind your own business. She was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, why not? She said, or the Learner's Dictionary restates that she said, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah, why not? He's always criticizing everyone, but it's like, who cares what he thinks? And the dictionary restates that as, he's always criticizing everyone, but no one cares what he thinks. Again, register is so important. A word like whom is used only, honestly, it's used just really in the most formal English. It is very rare in informal English. It's more formal than the word who and is not commonly used in ordinary speech or writing, where it can seem awkward and unnatural. So again, in a translation of dialogue, whom is going to look out of place. And but in a translation of a formal speech, it might be appropriate. So a formal instance, to whom did you speak? Also formal, whom did you speak to? But more commonly, who did you speak to? We weren't sure whom to hire. More commonly, we weren't sure who to hire. In formal English, the person to whom we spoke was very helpful. Also formal, we have the person whom we spoke to was very helpful. But more commonly, we have the person who or the person that we spoke to was very helpful. Formally, we have her brother, whom I met last year, is an attorney. More commonly, her brother, who I met last year, is an attorney. Beyond just what is formal, we have what is polite. Again, these are subtleties. The word dead and the word deceased are synonyms. They mean the same thing. But when we are talking about people, we often use deceased. It's a gentler term. Dead and deceased both mean no longer living, but deceased is a gentler term, and people often use it when the person who died was close to them or when they are talking to someone who knew the person who died. My mother is deceased. Is your grandfather alive or deceased? We also have guidance on a question like, what's the matter? The question, what's the matter, is usually asked in a friendly way. You look sad. What's the matter? What's wrong? The question, slight difference, the question, what's the matter with you, is usually asked in an unfriendly way by someone who is annoyed or angry. You keep making mistakes. What's the matter with you? What's wrong with you? Why do you keep making stupid mistakes? Very subtle difference in the words that are being used, but the message being communicated is dramatically different. A learner's dictionary will also address synonyms that have just fine distinctions in use. The words mean the same thing, but they are applied in different contexts, and so they communicate different things. Lean, thin, and skinny mean not having much fat on the body. Lean suggests a lack of unnecessary fat and may also suggest the muscular body of an athlete, the strong, lean legs of a runner. Thin can describe a person whose lack of fat is unhealthy, but it also often describes a person who is considered attractive. A thin and sickly old man, the room was full of beautiful thin women. Skinny describes a person who has an extremely thin appearance and who may not be healthy or eat enough food. Skinny children in poor countries, skinny legs. This kind of usage information is, again, the kind of thing that is not typically addressed in so much detail in a dictionary like the Collegiate Dictionary or in an unabridged dictionary, and it certainly is not addressed in a bilingual dictionary in such a full way. But a learner's dictionary will address these finer points. Here we have an example with the word so. When this sense of so is used before an adjective alone, it is considered informal. The apple pie tasted so good. The computer is so out of date. We also have special treatment of really informal words, something like nah. It's an adverb, it's informal. It means exactly the same thing as no, but nah is used in very informal spoken English. Do you want to come with us? Nah, I've got too much work to do. So again, nah, if you're working on a translation of something, nah is not likely to come up in any kind of translation of a speech or of a manual for like a product that provides guidance about a product. But if you're dealing with dialogue, it's definitely a word that may be useful. A word like rad, an informal word. We are told here that you can say that something is rad. One thing is radder, or it is also more rad. This dictionary will tell you the comparative forms of the word. This is a slang word. It is, which means that it is used really in definitely not in formal English, and it is used in contexts where this is almost like a kind of code, where people are approaching their speech with a sense of kind of camaraderie almost. So rad means very appealing or good. The party was totally rad. It was awesome. It was cool. A word like kisser. This word has two pretty different meanings. A person who kisses, as in he's a great kisser. He is very good at kissing. It also has this old-fashioned slang meaning of mouth. Punch someone in the kisser. And this label, old-fashioned slang, is very useful, especially in translations where you need to know if a term is out of use, if it's not a commonly used word anymore. A dictionary cannot be shy about addressing the complicated and ruder forms of the language. we have this, the word jack. And the sense 5 of the word jack, which is a noun, is a slang word, and it means anything at all, and it's used in negative statements. You don't know jack, and then this Learner's Dictionary tells you that this word is also used in an informal and offensive collocation. You don't know jack shit. A term like fickle, we are given information about how the different senses of fickle function differently. So if we're describing weather, fickle weather is weather that changes frequently, but which is kind of a neutral, there's not really a negative judgment against the weather. But when we're describing people as fickle, this is a word that has a disapproving sense about it. Someone who is fickle is changing their opinions often. Fickle friends or supporters. He blames poor sales on fickle customers. And a Learner's Dictionary will give really clear information about the most offensive terms in the language. For example, the term redskin is a very offensive word in the English language. It is informal and it is offensive. It means Native American. The word is redskin is very offensive and should be avoided. Critical information for a non-native speaker to know. I should also add that this is still the name of a baseball team in the United States, despite the fact that in kind of regular English, it is not a word that is used in polite information. A dictionary cannot pretend that these offensive terms do not exist. That would be as useful as just putting its head in the sand, as this poor fellow is doing. The entire Learner's Dictionary that I've been talking to you about is available online at learnersdictionary.com. It is, of course, not the only Learner's Dictionary on the market. There are a number of very good Learner's Dictionaries, but this Learner's Dictionary is available at learnersdictionary.com, and it is kind of a sister site also to the Merriam-Webster.com dictionary, which includes the Collegiate dictionary that we were first looking at when we looked at the definitions of vitriol in both dictionaries. And this is also available for free online at Merriam-Webster.com. I am not exactly sure how much time we have left, but wanted to close out by talking about what the kind of guiding, a really guiding principle in dictionary making is to tell the truth about words. And in a Learner's Dictionary, this truth is particularly formulated to be most useful for non-native English speakers, whether they're doing translation or whether they are just trying to simply make a habit of a language that is not their native language. And this is a quote by Montaigne: "They who would fight custom with grammar are fools." Again, it is the grammar is being this kind of structure, and the we can aim to master these finer points of grammar and usage, but it's really the language is kind of an animal all its own, and it's going to go off and do its own things as it does. So that is what I had prepared to talk to you all about a Learner's Dictionary, and I am happy to take questions, to make any clarifications. I know I went rather quickly through things. I'm actually not quite sure. Oh, I think we're doing pretty well as far as time goes. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, everybody, I'm looking for your questions. I'd love to answer some questions. Is that? Please click here. There's a hand. Okay, I'm looking for a hand.
Now there is. Where'd you get that?
Oh, all right, a hand just appeared. Questions.
Pull it up.
Yeah. Oh gosh, okay, so I've got, oh, am I going, give me just a moment to expand these. I see some questions, but I'm not able to read them yet.
there you
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Hi, everybody. Okay. In the end, to promise. The name of the dictionary that I've been talking to you about is Merriam-Webster's Advanced English Learner's Dictionary. If I grab me that one. This is what it looks like, and it is also at learnersdictionary.com. Learnersdictionary.com, free at that website. I am trying to understand this question. To promise, always interested, like to say that we'll do give. Oh, this question, Madalena, excuse me, I don't want to mispronounce people's names. Yeah, the word promise can mean that it has multiple meanings. And again, a learner's dictionary is very good for addressing all of these. It has both those meanings. It can mean that I promise that I will turn on the microphone. But it also means not quite to swear, but that yes, I will stay true. I promise. It's a word with multiple meanings, as many words do. On this slide, I'd like to know other dictionaries that could be useful for translators. Certainly, Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary is also useful for translators, and of course, a bilingual dictionary is useful for translators. There are many good bilingual dictionaries, some of them published by Merriam-Webster, but also published by other publishers as well. Okay. Yep. Yeah, we also have this smaller version of the Learner's Dictionary called the Essential Learner's Dictionary, and it is less expensive and weighs less, and is so easier to carry around. Oxford Learner's Dictionary, yes, is an excellent dictionary. Oxford and Longman is another very good dictionary. Merriam-Webster's Advanced Learner's English Dictionary is the only learner's dictionary on the market, only full learner's dictionary on the market that was produced by an American publishing company. So it treats American English in a really full way. Oxford is, of course, a British company, and it does an excellent job with both British and American English. But I think that our treatment of American English is a bit more complete. How to get used to idioms, right? I think that it's a matter of practice with idioms and seeing idioms used in their context. Television and movies, it's a great way to get to know idioms. Trying to hear as much conversational English as you can. But the many examples in a learner's dictionary are very useful for gaining mastery over idioms. College or advanced learner's dictionary. I think that it depends on what your use is, but I suspect that for most of you, the advanced learner's dictionary will do the job better. The Collegiate Dictionary covers a lot of technical vocabulary that if you are doing, say, a medical translation, or if you are dealing with any kind of technical writing, a dictionary like the Collegiate might be a necessary supplement. But that for the most part, the words that you're going to encounter in English are addressed in the Learner's Dictionary more fully than they are addressed in the College Dictionary, in the Collegiate Dictionary. The slang part. Slang is a lot of fun. Again, slang is clearly labeled in our dictionaries, both in the Collegiate Dictionary and in the Learner's Dictionary. It's important that people understand when a word is slang, because slang is a word that you want to know what the register of a word is. You want to know if a word is formal. You want to know if a word is slang. In either case, using a word in the wrong register can be kind of alienating to your audience. It can also break down barriers. It can signal a kind of kinship in the right context. So slang words are labeled as slang, so that is necessary information about the word. How to use a learner's dictionary in class. A learner's dictionary is great for, let's see, in class you could use a learner's dictionary by passing it around, letting students access it one at a time. If you had computer access, then they could access the website. A learner's dictionary is also incredibly useful if you are planning a lesson and you want to, say, focus on a word like horse and spend a class on the idioms about horse. You can read the definition of horse. You can go through those different idioms about horse. The Advanced Learner's English Dictionary also has a very comprehensive section in the back that is all about English grammar, talks about the different kinds of verbs, talks about the different kinds of nouns in great detail. There aren't just count and non-count nouns. There are also singular nouns, auxiliary nouns, modal nouns. It talks about what context those are used in. It talks about the different kinds of moods of English, the indicative mood, the imperative mood, the subjunctive mood. It digs into those and addresses how they function and how the verb changes in each case. It also talks in detail about how to structure questions and about linking verbs and how they are used.
Yes. We prepared a one sheet of ideas of how to use the Learner's Dictionary in the class that we can send to Priscilla.
Great. Megan is just telling me that we have prepared a single sheet that will give ideas for how to use a Learner's Dictionary in the classroom. And so we will be passing that along to you as soon as we finish up here, and so that Priscilla can pass that on to all of you. It seemed to you that this would need constant updates. Yes, we are a dictionary publisher, and we are very busy trying to keep our dictionaries up to date, indeed. The Learner's Dictionary first came out in 2008, and it has been updated. There have been a number of revisions to it since then. I think we have just the one new actual edition of the dictionary, but there are changes and updates made to our dictionaries all the time. It's an ongoing process. It doesn't happen daily, but the Collegiate Dictionary is updated multiple times a year, and the Learner's Dictionary is also updated. The language is constantly expanding and adjusting to the needs of its users, and so we have to try to keep up with that. I'm very specifically not really talking about translating. I'm talking about a tool for translators, but this is a monolingual dictionary. This is a dictionary that is an important supplement to a bilingual dictionary. This is a learner's dictionary is really where you go after the bilingual dictionary is after, when you can read a text confidently enough and competently enough to not need to open a bilingual dictionary every other word. So when the text is generally understandable, then somebody is ready for a learner's dictionary. And but of course, a bilingual dictionary is very, very important tool for translators and for teachers of English also, teachers of a foreign language also. Learner's dictionaries are available at major booksellers, both on the internet. I don't know what kind of internet access you have. Libraries have learner's dictionaries. Major booksellers should also have learner's dictionary. Merriam-Webster's Advanced Learner's English Dictionary is available for free online at learnersdictionary.com. It is also available through all the major online retailers, and it should be easily available through any kind of major bookseller. Words like na are used today but change frequently. They do change, but it's sometimes surprising how long slang words really stick around. The word nah is not a new word, and it's still very much in use. A lot of slang is older than the kids might think it is. This question is, I wonder whether there are similar learners' monolingual dictionaries for other languages, as thorough as the one you walked us through. I am most familiar with the dictionaries that Merriam-Webster makes. I spent 5 years of my professional life writing the Learner's Dictionary, so I'm very familiar with that dictionary. And so that's what I'm really prepared to talk about, are the dictionaries that we have. I don't know about other monolingual learners' dictionaries in other languages. Book about collocations. The Learner's Dictionary deals with so many different kinds of collocations, and it has a wealth of information about collocations. There are also exercises that deal with collocations at learnersdictionary.com, and but you could structure a whole class around the collocations with any common word. Just open to a page on the Learner's Dictionary, or look up a word like horse or like house, a word like go, and look at all the different phrases and collocations with the word go. Common verbs are a great place to start. The word take, for example. A Learner's Dictionary will address the most common phrases, and for many of these words, there are many phrases that they are used with. Let's see, how to be more careful when choosing the right word to translate something. It is, I think that is an important and crucial challenge, and understanding the usage is really key to that. Knowing what the register is, knowing if a word is formal or informal, knowing if a word is old-fashioned or not, knowing if a word is used in British English or American English, if it's not used in one but is used in the other. Of course, most words are used in both, but the Learner's Dictionary will tell you if one is used in one and not the other. And those are the kinds of pieces of information that you can put together to help determine which is the right word to use in a translation. Is it difficult to explain to a foreign student the meaning of an idiom? Yes, but that was one of the challenges in writing the Learner's Dictionary, was how to explain these idioms, because again, as I said in the talk, an idiom is a phrase that is really more than the sum of its parts. And but there's also a lot of pleasure in trying to think of and consider an idiom that is something you've been familiar with all your life, and trying to pull it apart and put it back in together and explain it in a way that will make sense to someone who is unfamiliar with it. The Cambridge Learner's Dictionary is also a very good dictionary. I'm familiar with that dictionary also. Cambridge, Oxford, Longman, they all make very good dictionaries. Absolutely, and they address the kind of information that I talked about here with the Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary also. Fish, yes. This question is about the use of the word fish. Is there a plural form of fish? The word fish has both a zero plural form, which means that its plural form is the same as its singular form, one fish, two fish. But if we are talking about varieties of fish, then we have, we've got the trout and we've got the salmon, and we can compare these two kinds of fishes. They are both kinds of fishes. And so, yes, the word fishes does indeed exist, but we don't talk about it in the same way. It is not one fish, two fishes, but there are varieties of fishes that can be compared. And that is information that a learner's dictionary will address explicitly, because again, it is something that is not intuited easily, and it is information that has to do with not the primary meaning of the word. Most of the time when we're talking about fish, we're talking about the one that is just one fish, two fish. But when we get into more technical uses, or when we're comparing kinds of fish, then we can deal with fishes. That is not to say that you can't say kinds of fish. We do say that also, but fishes is also used. Picture dictionaries, dictionaries for kids. Merriam-Webster published dictionaries for children of all different ages, and from preschool all the way through high school. We also have I showed you the one picture of the illustration for the word house in the Learner's Dictionary, but there is a section of the Learner's Dictionary that we've been talking about also has a number of beautifully illustrated illustrations here. I don't know how well you can see this, but here's some pictures of fruits and vegetables. Sections of this book that address that. Another book we have that Megan just reminded me of is Merriam-Webster's Visual Dictionary. If anybody is translating technical writing, this is an incredibly useful book. The Visual Dictionary has these very detailed pictures that then show the parts of things, common objects from saws and tools to computers to the human body. There is also a 5-language visual dictionary. And we will send Priscilla information about this book also, so that she can pass it along to you all. And I think we are about out of time. Thank you so much for joining me for this talk. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that it was useful, and thank you for being here. Have a good day, everybody.